What is reality? What are dreams? Like fools, we think such questions are easy to answer. They are not. These things we struggle to keep distinct, like good and evil or the many streams of time, have a troublesome tendency to flow together. There is what we see at first, there is what we see in the future, and what comes welling up from the past. There is what is on the surface and what lies beneath. Everywhere, life is a confusing thing, and often death makes it more confusing still. Perhaps we should think of life as a battle, fought against an enemy whose features are never clear, or as a play performed by actors who do not quite know their parts. Or, perhaps, life is like a dark nursery filled with mysterious toys. Toys that might look comforting or menacing according to your particular point of view. It is in some such nursery that our tale is about to begin. The time is long ago on a distant, strange moon. Act 1. One kiss, just one. My lord, please. Gasping, Lady Rhea of Verd struggled free from Lord Esnick's arms. Esnick lunged, to no avail. She pushed him, and he staggered back, crashing into the rocking horse. The shabby thing toppled, and Esnick sprawled. Rhea laughed. How silly he looked, his dignity all gone. But Esnick did not look silly for long. His visored cap had fallen free. In the dim light, his cheekbones jutted with shadowy sharpness, and Rhea saw, clearly enough, the expression that flickered across his face. It was a look of hatred. She turned away, grabbing up her electro-candle from the floor where it had fallen. Despairingly, she looked about her old nursery. How forlorn it seemed now, with its scattered toys and picture books, and musty dressing-up clothes. Cobwebbed red curtains hung all about the walls. Fallen in places, they revealed the riveted iron panels from which the castle was built. Round windows punctuated the cold metal like a ship's portholes. And indeed, thought Rhea, what was outside was a sea of sorts, a place where sometimes she had fancied she might drown. Dark, choking branches scraped against the glass, silvery and sinister in the planet light. Rhea shuddered. Perihelion night had come so soon. By morning, one way or the other, her destiny would be decided. And Rhea was determined she would decide it for herself. She breathed hard, steadying herself. Get rid of Esnick, just get rid of him. My lord, forgive my impetuous play, Rhea said with a smile, sweeping back her long, raven-black hair. You startled me appearing here. Why, you should not even lay eyes upon me before the morrow, let alone kiss me, she added, casting down her eyes. Lithely, the nobleman returned to his feet. Grabbing his guard's cap, he jammed it back down over his cropped, colourless hair. Your beauty made me forget myself, my dear. Not to mention the danger you're in. Danger? You're my danger. I assure you, my lord, I'm quite safe. I feared you were sleepwalking. What? And me, not in my night attire? Indeed, Esnick said pointedly. Your cape, your gloves, your high boots, and wandering here, alone. The words hung like an accusation. You followed me, said Rhea. My men regularly patrol these apartments. For us, no part of this castle is ever closed. Your men, Rhea murmured. But you... Come, One cannot trust one's underlings too much. Each night I choose a corner of the castle and inspect it myself. And tonight I chose here. A likely story. Rhea bit her lip. And this is how you spend the night before your wedding? And this is how you spend the night before yours, Esnik countered. The reply stung. Don't show you hate him. Forcing a smile, Rhea set the wooden horse back on its rocker, smoothing its rough mane. Is it not natural, she mused, that a bride before her wedding should look once more upon the scenes of her girlhood? You forget. This was once my world. Forget? How could I? Many a time I would visit you here. Esnik looked levelly into Rhea's eyes. And many a time I thanked the gods for my betrothal to so sweet a girl. But think, my dear, of the gravity decay creeping through this castle like a cancer. Don't you know this wing is unsafe? My lord, I have grown up here on Verd. Am I not used to the quirks of gravity? Rhea gestured to the window, where the dark woods seemed to press ever closer. You'll be warning me about the Nightdreamers next. Don't they say they're out in force every time perihelion night comes round? There are other threats. Esnik stepped forward. Prince Tonio? A coolness, even coldness, entered Rhea's voice, as if the mere name filled her with distaste. My wicked cousin is gone, isn't he? Oh, he's banished. Esnik took Rhea in his arms again. This time, she did not push him away. My dear, he murmured, remember whose daughter you are, and whose wife you soon will be. His face softened, and Rhea had to admit to herself that he was a remarkably handsome man, but a cruel man, a deceiving man. She faltered. My lord, I think you should go. Go, silly girl. I must escort you back to your quarters. But leave me for a moment, just a moment, to linger in this girlhood scene. With a smile, Esnik smoothed the dark leather of his uniform. He bowed, withdrawing. As you wish, my lady. But what a trial, to leave you even for the shortest time. I can hardly forget that only one more night divides us from our wedded bliss. Rhea cast down her eyes. Say the right thing. Sir, I long for our lawful union. Of course you do. The nobleman slipped back, kissing her quickly. Ah, how happy was the day of our betrothal, and how much more so must the morrow be. For now, my dear, I leave you. But just for now. The door spiraled open, and Esnik was gone. Left alone, Rhea glanced about her anxiously. The hated man might return at once. In the corridor, he might call up this chamber on the Visifinder. He could be watching her now. With pretended nonchalance, she ran her hands over a spangled cape, a stuffed tiger, the sloping roof of a doll's house. Many a time, in her new apartments, Rhea had longed to be a girl again, here among her old playthings. Why should she be a woman, when all it could mean was marriage to her father's captain of guards? But that was before Tonio. Tonio! Swiftly, she made for a panel in the wall. She punched a keypad, and the panel slid back, revealing the servo shaft that led up to the battlements. As a child, she had climbed it, and the climb was long and arduous. Not any more. She flung her electro-candle into the shaft. As she expected, it swooped into the air. Yes, the gravity decay had reached this far. Trembling, Rhea stepped into the shaft.
Doctor, are you sure that's Metabolus 3?
Joe Grant looked doubtfully at the scanner, wondering if they could really have reached their destination. It seemed unlikely. Something strange had happened when the doctor set the controls, but quite what it had been Joe could not say. She wondered if she had blacked out just for a moment, and if the doctor had blacked out too.
A fascinating phenomenon, Joe, he was saying.
Lying on his back beneath the white hexagonal console of the TARDIS, his often unreliable time and space vehicle, the Doctor was busy with the little multi-purpose instrument he called the sonic screwdriver.
There we were,
he said, over its high-pitched whirrings,
ready to jump the dimensional vortex, when something held us back. Cosmic rays, I wonder. But what sort? Joe, did I ever tell you there are 8,005,366 different types of cosmic rays?
You didn't, said Joe with a sigh.
But you did promise that this time we really were going to, what did you call it? The famous blue planet of the Actian galaxy. I think I could use a good holiday after Spiridon.
With a shudder, Joe recalled the inhospitable jungle planet, where an invasion force of 10,000 Daleks had been preparing to take over the galaxy. Then, too, she thought briefly of Latep, the young Thal man who had fallen in love with her. He had wanted her to return with him to his home planet Skaro, but Joe had refused, not wanting to leave the Doctor, or the prospect of returning to Earth. She felt she had made the right decision, but every so often there were pangs of regret. Shaking her head, Jo returned her thoughts to Metabolus 3.
But do you really think we're there now? What's that? We'll be landing in no time, Jo. Just let me patch up the transmatter stabilizer. Won't take more than a...
There was a bang, and a cloud of smoke billowed from under the console, briefly obscuring the brilliant gleaming whiteness of the control room. Jo waved at the air.
Some repairman you are. What's that, Jo?
Coughed the Doctor, staggering upright. A tall, well-built man, dressed in the velvet and lace of an Edwardian dandy, the Time Lord presented an imposing figure. Though his age was numbered in many centuries, in appearance he remained a vigorous man in late middle age, with a lined but ruggedly handsome face. The lines deepened now as he peered at the controls.
I don't suppose you're only sealing wax, Jo, he said,
disappearing beneath the console again.
Would chewing gum do?
Said Jo.
You have some?
Jo rolled her eyes. Sporting a fluffy waist-length coat above a mini-dress and high white boots, she was a strikingly pretty young woman with wide hazel eyes and blonde hair that fell about her face in soft cascades. In the course of many adventures, Jo had proven herself fiercely loyal to the Doctor, but none the less had never entirely trusted him, least of all in anything practical. To his companion, the Time Lord was like a beloved but exasperating uncle, the sort whose wild ways might have troubled his family for years, but whose charm and dubious enthusiasms made him somehow impossible to resist. She glanced again at the scanner. With its silvery, ominous-looking swirl of clouds, the world below them was hardly likely to be the celebrated blue planet Metabolus 3, renowned throughout the universe for its astonishing beauty. And what about that moon orbiting above?
It's getting closer, she said aloud, and it's green. Jo, what are you talking about? We're in the space-time vortex, or haven't you noticed? Then what's that on the scanner? That's it!
The Doctor sat up suddenly, bumping his head on the underside of the console.
That explains the anomaly. Something's pulling us back, something transdimensional. But that would have to have the most enormous power. Doctor, said Jo, I haven't a clue what you mean. But look at that moon. It's getting bigger all the time.
Puzzled, the Doctor peered above the console, absently rubbing his hand through his silver mane of hair. He scrambled up.
You should have told me, Joe. This is most interesting. It's a moon, said Joe.
Really, the Doctor could be infuriating sometimes.
You can see the planet behind.
I can see it's a moon, Joe. And it's covered in forest.
That's interesting,
Joe asked flatly.
For a moon of that size, yes.
While Joe studied her fingernails, the Doctor stroked his chin, muttering about ratios of density and mass. Hastily, he punched figures into the central computer. Ticker tape reeled from the console.
Just as I thought. This moon's even smaller than Earth's, Joe. And look at that atmosphere. Not to mention that dense vegetation. Where does the gravity come from? Answer me that.
You're asking me? Doctor, I don't know about you, but I was looking forward to Metebelis 3. In fact, right now, I'd settle for just going home.
The Doctor gazed at her mournfully.
My dear girl, I'm afraid that's out of the question. You said it yourself. That moon's getting bigger, because we're heading straight for it.
Joe's brow furrowed.
Can't we just leave?
That's just it. We can't.
Whirling up from the servo shaft, Lady Rhea of Verd hurtled into the dark air, her heels kicking behind her like an eager swimmer's, her silvery cape billowing. Below, the iron battlements of the castle loomed like jutting fangs. Beyond, the woods glimmered deep and thick in the silvery planet light of Galaxis bright. And a figure swam towards her. In the style of the royal court on the planet above, the figure, a tall, fair young man, was dressed in a flowing purple toga with golden bands circling his wrists and ankles, his forehead and his neck. In the barely present gravity, his hair waved with sinuous luxuriance. To Rhea, there had never been a finer vision of manly beauty.
Tonio! Tonio! She gasped.
The cousins rushed together. Embracing, they sank to the top of the east tower, where the moon's erratic gravity still held sway. As if in a dream, her hand trembling, Rhea smoothed her lover's undulating, soft, straw-blonde hair.
Darling, you're sure you can face this? He breathed.
She nodded, looking into the beloved eyes.
Foolish boy, what could make me change? I'm sad to leave my father, but he's lost his mind. What else could have made him banish you, his own nephew?
A fellow called Esnik, perhaps, was the reply.
Ugh! Don't mention his name.
Smiling, Tonio gestured to the great disk of Galaxis bright, hovering above them like a heavenly promise.
Soon you'll be safe in my father's palace.
This, Rhea suspected, might not be quite true. Dominated by Galaxis Dark, its powerful sister planet, Galaxis Bright was hardly a haven. There was talk of war, of insurrection. Lately, rumour even said that her mother's brother, the Emperor, had gone into hiding. Rhea would not trouble herself with such thoughts now. Her eyes misted, gazing on the planet she had left as an infant, but still thought of as home. She sighed.
How close it seems.
Never more than on perihelion night.
And yet, how far? Tonio, where is your lightship?
Gravity Well 6. Rhea was alarmed.
So far?
Could I dare land closer?
Solemnly, Tonio gestured down at the woods.
And I think we'd better swim between these trees, not above them, don't you? What about your scrambler?
The sensors won't pick us up, but Esnik's guards? They've got eyes. And I've had a few near misses tonight. Let's just hope no one attacks the lightship. I don't want to use the Vorgon ray. Rhea shuddered. She had been alarmed when Tonio told her about this dangerous new weapon. Developed by a scientist called Monex Axis, it was intended to be used against Galaxis Dark. Knowing that her cousin's lightship had been equipped with the ray, Rhea could only hope it would never be used here on Verd.
Ready?
He clutched her hand. Regret lurched in Rhea's heart for all that she was leaving. Doubts crowded in on her for what might lie ahead. But love compelled her on. They stepped towards the tower's brink. Now they must launch themselves into the sea-like woods. Rhea gulped.
Perhaps we'll catch a night dreamer, she said with false brightness. Catch one, my old nurse used to say. Take it as hostage to the night dreamer king. Then he must make all your dreams come true.
Silly girl, said Tonio. Can't I do that?
Oh, yes, Tonio, yes.
Or perhaps you mean no, came a dry voice. They swiveled round. It was Esnek, sinister in his dark uniform, eyes invisible under his visored cap. He stepped out of the shadows, a menacing phaser gleaming in his hand.
Tonio, quick!
Rhea lurched to the battlements. A blast scorched from the phaser. Tonio fell.
No!
Rhea cried, as guards surrounded her.
Doctor, you mean we'll crash?
A thick, dark forest filled the scanner. Ticker tape in fresh streams curled from the console. Curiouser and curiouser. Eagerly, the doctor inspected the long strips of equations. Something's giving this moon its gravity, Joe, but not giving it evenly. Look! He sifted through the ticker tape, but it was too tangled already, and he threw it over his shoulder, exasperated. Anyway, on parts of this moon there's Earth-like gravity. That's what anchors the atmosphere. Elsewhere, the gravity's lower than on your moon.
Fascinating, Doctor, but
Joe would have said more, but the TARDIS lurched violently. They staggered, roundels flashed in the walls, and the glowing, transparent column in the centre of the console wheezed up and down.
Didn't I tell you we'd crash?
Joe cried. What? We're well above the surface.
Yes, but for how long?
The buffetings grew more violent. Joe collapsed. Uselessly, the doctor struggled with the controls. Something down there wants us, and it won't let us go.
Joe said suddenly, "The Night Dreamer King."
She had spoken in a voice quite unlike her own.
What? Joe, what did you say?
Dazed on the floor, she could hardly answer. Only look on as the mysterious moon was replaced by a vision of swirling colours streaming from the scanner like a fantastic dream. The doctor sank down, clutching the console. Joe screamed, the colours exploding in her mind.
I'm fed up.
A sigh escaped on the night air. Then came another, followed by a groan. The solitary occupant of a gravity well deep in the woods, sitting on a fallen log, was a little man dressed all in green. Green tights, green leather jerkin, green cap with a hanging bell. He even wore pointy, curly-toed shoes, and the shoes were green too. He rested his cheek on a bunched hand, looking round forlornly at the planet-lit clearing, a pungent place of squashed berries and dropped cones and crisping, carpeting leaves, of shimmerings and rustlings, of shy, skittering nightbirds and peering, snooty-faced little rodents that would scurry silently for cover when they thought they were observed.
"The fun's gone out of it. That's the trouble,"
said the little green man,
as if he were speaking to someone else. "Remember, Majesty, when I was new in your service? I always wanted mischief, and you gave it to me. How you gave it to me! But I miss my freedom, Majesty. I miss my brother too. If I had a brother. Didn't I have a brother once and lose him?"
He struck the side of his head, and his bell jingled.
"Oh, my memory, my memory. I'm not sure I can even remember my brother's name now, my brain's so addled. Why is that, Majesty? Can you tell me why? But no, you're not even listening, are you?"
Leaping up,
The little man paced restlessly. I'm just not appreciated, am I? Oh, I wish I could break free. I wish I could do some mischief. He kicked a log, hurt his foot, hopped about a little, and plumped himself down again. I'm bored, he almost shouted. Perihelion night, and I'm bored. He looked up at the sky. Then the little man's eyes widened, and a wicked grin split his face from ear to ear. What's this? Humans from the castle coming this way? What luck! He clapped his hands, twirled in a circle, and launched into a capering dance. Sparklings, like green cinders, played about his heels, and he sang the following ditty. My name is Sly, and I shall try to cause some sweet dissension. This human crew will come to rue my mischievous intention. His song completed, the little man rubbed his hands, grinned again, then scampered off and concealed himself in the shimmering, rustling trees.
The planet's full tonight.
Of course it's full, fool.
What? Full?
No, fool.
Fool?
Idiot.
Who are you calling an idiot?
You, it's Perihelion. Did you bring your costume? Peterkin the cobbler and Maisie Grace the chambermaid pushed through the trees and alighted in the circle of trodden vegetation and fallen logs that was Gravity Well 6. Landing behind them came their companions, Gubrius, the castle chaplain, Nora, the cook, and the gardener, whose name was Weed. Are you sure this was a good idea? Said Gubrius, to no one in particular. As chaplain, he was a cut above his lowly companions, and did not like them to forget it. He rather wished he had not agreed to this folly. Out in the woods at Perihelion, I never heard the like. What are you worried about? Said Nora. You took a phaser, didn't you? I'm in a lot more trouble, let me tell you. If that new butler finds out I'm gone, he's a terror, and make no mistake. Weed thought there were terrors closer to hand. Gubrius is right. The Nightdreamers will get us, mark my words. Quite what the Nightdreamers might be, neither the gardener nor the chaplain could have explained. They knew only that, over the years, a great many servants, courtiers too, had disappeared from the castle. Then, of course, there was the Duchess. Maisie Grace was in no mood for Nightdreamers. Let them come, she scoffed. If they dare, we'll catch them or the monster will, eh, Peterkin? The cobbler was busy getting into his costume, an absurd affair of tinsely scales and a big knobbly painted head made from papier-mâché. Nora dug him in the ribs, and he yelled, I'm not a real monster, you know. It's only pretend. Hark at the man, said Maisie Grace. And I'm not a real princess, but we've got our parts.
Parts? Said Peterkin, a little alarmed.
They had come into the woods to rehearse the play they would perform on the morrow, in celebration of the marriage of Lord Esnick and Lady Rhea. According to tradition, the marriage would take place at dawn after Perihelion night, when omens were most auspicious for future happiness. Imperiously, Maisie Grace made the others take their places. Come on, just think of Lady Rhea. Didn't I tell you I had a peek at her dress? How lovely she'll look. I don't think Esnick will, Weed mumbled. Of course he won't, said Maisie Grace. He's the groom. Oh, it's going to be such a wedding, isn't it, Nora? Wait till you see my menu, said the cook. Don't worry, there'll be leftovers for us all. Now, come on, said Maisie Grace. Rehearsal time. The play, a hoary old classic from Galaxis Bright, was The Tragical and Comical History of Boreas and Thamia, or The Complications of Love. It concerned a beautiful young princess. Maisie Grace, though hardly young, insisted on playing this part, whose father kept her imprisoned behind a high wall. Luckily, there was a prince who would set her free, but the princess, who had spoken to him only through a crack in the wall, had no idea that a wicked enchanter
had turned him into a mouse. The rehearsal did not get off to a good start. Peterkin had trouble with his lines, Nora kept giggling, and Gubrius, as usual, could only grumble.
"I'm exhausted," he said. "Did we really have to swim out to Gravity Well 6?
"What are you complaining about?" snapped Maisie Grace. "All you've got to do is stand there like a wall."
Gubrius indicated his clerical collar.
"Have you no respect for a man of the cloth?
"Just shut up and hold your ivy."
Such rudeness. Yet, of all the players, the chaplain was the best. Perhaps this was because he had no lines. Nora, as the fairy who promised to change the prince back into a handsome young man, could not help overacting, while Maisie Grace's wide-eyed princess was more annoying than alluring. There were frequent quarrels, and Gubrius, then Weed, said they should go back to the castle. Maisie Grace stamped her foot.
"Nora, I appeal to you. Peterkin, to you. We're staying, aren't we?"
The cook, resplendent in gauzy gossamer, thought it best to nod. The cobbler, his voice muffled through the monster's head, supposed doubtfully that it was good they were here. "We don't want the guards to see us, do we? I mean, we wouldn't want anyone to see me like this."
"Does he understand we're doing a play?" whispered Weed,
lowering his mouse's mask. Maisie Grace only sighed, swished her royal robes, and clipped her cardboard tiara more firmly to her hair. The end of the play was the hardest part. Just when Weed lifted Maisie Grace to freedom, Nora's mischievous magic turned the man back into a mouse. Away ran the princess, screaming into the woods, where she wandered for long years. They were not quite sure how to show this, until one day the mouse found her and saved her from a monster, the monster, fortunately, being also afraid of mice. The mouse's bravery released him from the enchanter's spell, and the lovers were reunited. Nothing right. Gubrius, as the wall, did not like being scaled. In fact, he fell over. Weed had trouble, quite a lot, in changing from man to mouse, while the kindly Peterkin could not attack Maisie Grace, even in play.
"Again!" she commanded. "Come on, Peterkin, charge!" "Get a good run up, that's the way," said Weed, yawning.
"And roar," said Nora. "Remember to roar."
Peterkin said he would do his best, but he could not see very well from beneath the monster's head. Again he charged, even roared this time, and floundered past Maisie Grace, crashing into the foliage at the side of the gravity well. There was a loud, metallic bong.
"What was that?"
Weed was awake now.
"Something's behind those branches,"
said Nora.
"Something big," gulped Gubrius. "Very big."
"Nightdreamers, it has to be,"
said Weed.
"Don't be silly,"
said Maisie Grace, dragging the gibbering Peterkin to his feet. Fearlessly, she pulled away the branches and stepped back, puzzled.
"A spaceship." "It's a lightship. Look at those markings."
Gubrius gripped his phaser.
"But here, why?"
There was no time to marvel at the mysterious craft. At that moment, another sound filled the clearing, a stranger sound this time, and the players darted back into the trees. What could be happening? The sound was like a foghorn, like an amplified wheezing, like an ancient engine failing to start. The sound was like nothing they had heard before.
"Nightdreamers, I told you,"
Weed's voice cracked. Maisie Grace blanched.
"Weed, you may be right."
The green moon of Verd was a place of many wonders, but nothing had prepared the players for the sight of a blue box with a flashing light on the top, materializing suddenly in the middle of Gravity Well 6. The strained wheezing ceased at last, and the TARDIS stood before them. Peeking out from the shadows, Sly's eyes grew wide. A cunning look came over his face, and he rubbed his little hands. Who dares disturb my meditation?
The voice boomed like thunder. From beneath the floor, an elaborate dais rose slowly to the surface, bearing with it a fearsome-looking white-bearded man. Sitting in a vast, throne-like chair, he was dressed in bejeweled robes. With burning eyes, he gazed around his vast, chilly presence chamber, a place of thick tapestries, shimmering electro-tapers, and many branched antlered heads mounted high on the wall. Slowly, almost dazedly, the old man's gaze settled upon Tonio, stunned from a phaser blast, staggering in the grip of guards. Esnik stepped forward, tugging a protesting Rhea by the wrist.
Duke Altero, hear me. I have saved your daughter from the vilest of fates. Had I not intervened, the wicked Prince Tonio would have kidnapped her on the night before her wedding. Monstrous, cried the Duke. Is there no end to his infamy?
Rhea began.
Father, don't believe it. It's not true. It's silence, child. What are you but a giddy girl defying your father's wishes?
His wizened hand shaking, the Duke pointed at Tonio.
I guessed at your fondness for this reprobate. Why should I have banished him, but that I feared this would happen?
Father, I love him. Father, you can't.
Tonio interrupted.
Noble uncle, I beg of you.
Silence, I say. Since birth, my child has been betrothed to Lord Esnik, loyal Esnik, who has kept us safe on this moon, repelling all invaders in my long years of exile from Galaxis Bright. Had I listened to him, should I have allowed you even to land? I see now my folly.
Tonio's reply came through clenched teeth.
Uncle, my father spoke of you as the sweetest, kindest of men. What can have happened to turn you into this tyrant, this traitor?
Esnik struck Tonio across the mouth. Rhea cried out, but her lover rallied, and only the firm grip of the guards prevented him from lunging at Esnik, wrestling him to the ground.
Uncle, does your minion forget himself? To assault an emperor's son—
Emperor exis umain, said the Duke, has no authority here. Be grateful, whelp, that my mercy preserves you from punishment still worse. But the first part of your punishment is clear enough. Guards, take him away. Tomorrow, in fetters, he may watch my daughter's wedding.
No,
cried Rhea, as the guards hustled her lover to the doors.
Sweet Tonio, I swear, nothing shall make me consent to—
Child, burst out her father, it is not your place to consent or to deny. Until your marriage, you are my property. I have decreed that you marry Lord Esnik, and marry him you will.
Tears burst from Rhea's eyes.
Father, indeed you have become a monster. Think of the happiness we used to know, when Mother was—
Duke Altero quivered with rage. Wicked girl! You dare speak of your mother, whose memory you defile with every word that passes your lips? Esnik, see that she is locked in her apartments. Alas, I fear you will often be her jailer until she is brought to a proper wifely submission. But enough, I weary of this worldly folly. Again, I must descend to my meditation.
Father, please!
Rhea would have said more, but Esnik twisted her wrist, and she broke off with a cry.
Joe, are you all right?
The TARDIS was still now, and all appeared as normal, except for Jo. The Doctor cradled her head. He peered beneath her eyelids. Lightly, he slapped her face several times. Jo stirred, but only lolled back again.
Not going to talk to me, Jo? Well, you're breathing. I suppose you'll come round.
A little ungallantly, the Doctor propped his companion against one of the high, fluted columns that lined the walls of the TARDIS control room, at intervals between the gleaming roundels. Pondering, the Time Lord paced round the console, his velvet opera cloak swishing behind him. It wasn't just a fall that had knocked Jo cold. No, it was some power, a power strong enough to enter the TARDIS.
and force it down.
What I want to know is, what? The doctor said aloud. Because if I can't find out, I've a feeling we're not going to be leaving here soon.
The scanner showed a murk of midnight forest.
There's gravity out there, that much is clear. But how far does it last? And why does it stop? I think I'd better do a little scouting around.
Jo murmured,
Doctor?
but again she only lolled back. The doctor opened the doors, stepping out onto the strange moon. The woods were silent. Curiously, he peered up at the silvery planet hanging ominously in the night sky.
What? No welcoming committee? Anyone there?
He took a step forward, stumbling a little in the tangled clearing. To the side, something gleamed through a layer of vegetation.
What's this? A spacecraft. A mini-cruiser of some kind. Designed for humanoids by the looks of it. And someone's tried to hide it here. But who?
The doctor would have investigated further, but just then there were cries behind him, and figures burst from the woods. He reeled round, but the figures were upon him, knocking him to the ground, pinioning his limbs. And a phaser was trained at his head.
Well, good evening to you too.
Bemused, the doctor surveyed his captors. One appeared to be a princess, if a somewhat elderly one, dressed in royal robes. One, a very fat one, was a fairy in gauzy gossamer. One was a mouse, or perhaps a rat, though an enormous, tall and gangling one. And one, who looked simply absurd, was some kind of nondescript monster with an enormous knobbly head. The one with the phaser was draped in ivy.
On your feet, hissed the princess, who appeared to be the ringleader, and hands up.
Dubiously, the doctor complied. These, he could see, were hardly the most formidable captors. If it weren't for the phaser, he could have escaped easily. But there were things he needed to know. He would play along, at least for now.
Keep him covered, Gubrius, said the fairy. We don't know what tricks he's got up his sleeve. Tricks, said the doctor. You'd like to see a trick?
The monster nodded eagerly, but the mouse trod on his foot.
Don't listen to him, Peterkin,
came a voice from under the mask.
Nora's right. Night dreamers are devious. Night dreamers? Said the doctor. I'm no night dreamer, whatever that might be. But I was rather wondering about the chap called the Night Dreamer King, if it happened to...
There were cries of alarm. Fearfully, the mouse and the monster scurried into the undergrowth.
Come back, you cowards, cried the princess. What's he going to do, turn us into monsters? Said the mouse.
Mice, said the monster.
He might make us dream, Maisie, said the fairy. He might make us dream, Maisie, said the fairy, wide-eyed. I mean, we could be dreaming now.
Shall I give him a blast? Said the fellow with the phaser. Fortunately, the others did not answer.
Look, said the princess. Don't you know what this means? Gubrius, Weed, don't you?
I think I do, said the one in the monster's head.
You, Peterkin?
His friends turned to him, surprised. We've caught a night dreamer, haven't we? And...
Look, said the doctor, this is all very interesting, but...
Are we sure he's a night dreamer?
Interrupted Gubrius, his phaser shaking.
With tricks like that?
Maisie Grace gestured to the blue box.
He'll vanish on us again, said Nora, won't he?
The doctor was beginning to wish that he could.
Of course, said Gubrius. It's a trick. He'll get away.
Maisie Grace burst out,
Then blast him, you idiot!
It was what the doctor had feared. He had wanted to learn what he could from these people, but it looked as if he would not have the chance.
Behind you, he shouted suddenly, and then, hi!
With a swift karate kick he lashed out, striking the arm of the man holding the phaser. Gubrius shrieked. The phaser span from his hand. The doctor dived for the bushes. But Peterkin was faster. He seized the phaser, squeezing the trigger. There was a fizzing blast, and the Doctor crashed into the undergrowth, his cloak twisting at an angle over his prone form. For a moment, his limbs jerked and twitched, his eyes flickered, filmy and unseeing. Then he was still, and his eyes were shut.